It's an invisible line that affects our daily modern lives across the globe. Literally. Today we're exploring the where and why behind 0 degrees longitude, or the Prime Meridian. Latitude runs on an east-west line, with the equator being 0 degrees and the poles being 90 degrees north and south. Longitude runs north-south, with the Prime Meridian being 0 degrees there and the international date line coming in at 180. 1 degree of latitude is evenly spaced, about 111 kilometers each, adding up to roughly 10,000 kilometers from equator to pole. In fact, a meter used to be defined as 1/10,000,000th of that polar equatorial distance. Longitudinal degrees are only the same distance apart at one given latitude, since they all converge at the poles, so a little extra math is required. Still coming in at 111 kilometers at the equator, but closer to 84 kilometers in New York City and 69 kilometers a little farther north in London. Now, the equator makes sense as 0 degrees latitude, given it's the median of an actual physical feature as Earth spins on its axis. But how did we settle on the exact location for the Prime Meridian? In truth, there's no real reason besides geopolitics and the advent of faster travel. Let's go back to ancient Greece, where it's generally accepted that Ptolemy here used the Canary Islands off West Africa as 0 longitude, since that was about the western extent of recorded land at the time, with China being the farthest east. Ancient India had their north-south line run right down the center of the region, and you might guess where this is going. By the 18th century, things really went off the rails, with many countries and governing bodies adopting their own Prime Meridian. In the case of the United States, we've had 4 of them, running at times through the White House, the Capitol building, and the old and new naval observatories. Finally, in 1884, the International Meridian Conference was held to establish one global standard. Some suggested their country, others took a neutral route with a line through mostly ocean, but the answer came across the pond. Rewinding to the 1720s, carpenter John Harrison was a self-taught clockmaker, getting as precise as 1 second off per month. An act of Parliament offered a cash prize for anyone who could help solve the problem of ships finding their exact longitude at sea. And after a few sea trials and boardroom disputes, Harrison won. Making those marine chronometers more affordable and accurate is where the Royal Observatory in Greenwich came in. In 1851, astronomer George Airy designed a transit circle, basically an up and down telescope with no real need for a dome, tracking the time and angle of stars moving east to west across the lens. Some stars were so reliable in this, they were known as clock stars, to compare celestial transit times to our more common ticking timekeepers on the ground. With its proven track record over more than 3 decades at the time, the Greenwich line running through Airy's telescope crosshairs was officially adopted by 22 countries as the prime meridian of the world, although it took France until 1911 to come on board. But wait, there's more. It may surprise you to know the Greenwich line is not the current standard. In 1984, a century after that first conference, the IERS reference meridian was established, offset by 5.3 seconds of longitude east of the Greenwich line. That translates, using our earlier math, to being just over 100 meters, or 335 feet, east of Airy's telescope, currently marked by a dog poop trash bin. Sometimes precision has its price. For this week's Moment of Science, I'm Dan Smith.